What is up, my mortgage and real estate loving friends? Hope you are having it. Let me adjust that a little bit. There we go. Hope you are having a fantastic Monday. I sure am. I had a great weekend, and I hope that you did too. My name is Sean Grapevine. I'm the Vice President of Product Strategy here at UMortgage. Someday, if somebody asks, I'll tell you what that means. Once I figure it out. Don't ask until I figure it out, and then I'll tell you what it means. And I'm joined here by a guy whose role leaves no room for interpretation. Matt.
The mortgage guy.
Matt, the mortgage guy. Gouget. He's the mortgage guy. That is his job. He's like, did you see the Barbie movie?
No, I did not see that.
Bro, first of all, missing out. Second of all, each kin in the Barbie movie has like his own role. He's like, oh, I'm beach kin. I'm lifeguard kin. I'm, driver kin. You were like, your job is mortgage. You're mortgage kin.
Mortgage kin. I'll take it, man. As long as people call me, email me, text me, all their mortgage wants, needs, and advice, I'm here for them.
All right. That's your job as mortgage kin. So how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. We, kids' birthday party, 4 basketball games for my oldest son. So, family fun. Chasing the kiddos around and getting them from, birthday party to basketball game to all their events. What went into your fantastic weekend, brother?
Well, my wife has been taking care of her father off and on for like a week at a time, back and forth, week there, week here, for a while. And she recently pulled her last stint there as he kind of rehabilitates, and she was gone for like 11 days, I think. It was the longest we've ever spent apart from each other, and it was really difficult. So really happy to have her back. I'm just happier when she's around. And man, I really sound like I'm this is crazy. We watched this show this weekend called Nobody Wants This. It's like the romantic comedy Netflix special, which I was like dragged into watching, just like I was with Barbie, and ended up absolutely loving it. So anybody here watching, I'm like, it was great. We binged it was the first time I binged like a whole show in a weekend in years. So can't recommend it enough. Yeah, it was great. It was great. If you love love, you'll love this show.
Sweet.
So, but speaking of things that I don't love, Matt, let's do the numbers.
Okay. Yeah, we've had some change. So anybody who's tuning in, wondering if there's been any change to mortgage rates and mortgage, rest assured, we've got some change for you. So much change that we're probably gonna have to correct this, chart that kind of.
Yeah. In fact, we're gonna
lagging data. That's the only problem.
No. I just did a bad job.
Oh, you got something new up there? I was gonna say that's.
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't paste in the screenshot appropriately there. So yeah, this is what Matt is talking about. He could see it just by looking at it. He was like, I know this ain't right. It's a tale of two lessons here, or two emotions, right? Like you and I are disappointed that rates have gone up, and anybody who wants a home or has a home, anybody who cares about interest rates is sad that rates went up, right? But it doesn't really tell the whole story, because rates go up when there's good news in the economy. So run us through why rates went up last.
So we had a jobs report, and if I remember correctly, The number we expected was like 150,000 jobs added. And what was the number? Like 254? It was like it was not just like we guessed 150,000, 160 came in. It was a huge beat. 254,000 is the number that I think I remember.
Yeah, 254.
Yeah, 100,000 job beat. And so what that signals to the mortgage rates, to simplify it, right, is like the economy is doing fine. We don't need, rates to be lower. And so, that's a simplified version of it for people. But when the economy is doing good and there's more jobs created than we thought, that has a upward pressure on mortgage interest rates. So we saw it in a major way. On Friday, Mortgage News Daily, like their 30-year average that takes, nationwide data, went from like 6.2 to 6.5. For rates and the actual rate to go up 0.3 of a point is a big move. You usually don't see that in a day. And quite honestly, Sean, I'm looking at today, we're up, 23 basis points. And by up, I mean higher. The 10-year treasury is up above 4%. So mortgage rates they're not done climbing. I don't want to say I told you so to people that I told, like, if you like it, lock it. When the target appears, fire, like all these things I told people almost to the day from that day that everyone's looking forward to of September 18th, where like, this is where the Fed is going to cut the rates. They've gone up since the 18th, right? For 2 weeks straight. Like if I look at a chart on Mortgage News Daily, 6.15 is their average on the 18th. 6.53 was the average on Friday. And so if that was what you waited for, you quite frankly might have missed something, because who knows when they're going to be back down that level again.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was a violent change, and yeah, exactly like you said, the Fed reduces rates to make money cheaper when they need to stimulate the economy. When don't they need to stimulate the economy? Well,
when there's more jobs.
Yeah, exactly. When people have more money because they have more job. It's pretty simple stuff, and it's like it goes hand in hand with all the other readings we've gotten too. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you see inflation decrease because prices don't go up because people can't spend money on stuff. It's like, right, like prices go up because demand goes up, and when people don't have jobs and they have less disposable income, then prices stop going. So like the inflation side of things, which has been looking better and better, is one thing where it's like, well, is this a soft landing, or is this just like, hey, prices stopped going up because we basically raised rates so much that everybody lost their jobs? It's like, no, actually, we're getting the best of both worlds if like the reports actually reflect the experience of your everyday American. There's a ton of sort of doubts about that, all the way from like crazy conspiracy theories to like critiques of how our reports are measured, because you have to understand, like, the Bureau of Labor Statistics isn't like, hey, next month we should calculate this, right? It's the federal government. It's gonna, like, there's probably some piece of legislation, like Congress, it's gonna take a long time. And the way we've been counting jobs is like the same way we've been doing it since the 90s. And maybe like that doesn't really align with people who are like, is an Uber driver, right? Is driving for Uber, is that a job? Well, I mean, technically you're a contractor. Is being a contractor with like three different, there's all these questions to answer about, like, what is a job and what isn't a job, that like those questions didn't even exist when the way that we calculate jobs came out. I mean, so a lot of things to consider there. And then the same thing for inflation, right? Everybody's like, inflation's going down. That's great. The reports say inflation's going down. And I go to the grocery store and I'm like, oh my gosh, $150 on literally nothing. So is it going down? Yeah. So a lot of things to consider here. I do think that the overall economic outlook looks better than we would have expected, whether or not you think you trust every piece of the reports. But have you seen this, Matt, the mortgage guy?
I haven't, but I heard somebody talk about it this morning. I always like to get some good mortgage news in the morning. So it's 88 and 12 is the new numbers, right?
Maybe let me do a refresh on my actual browser here. But the 12 is, and we'll give
No
everybody
change,
80,
right?
82, yeah. So now it's 82 and 18, but we'll use it. This one's close enough. So traders now think there's a 16.5% chance that the Fed won't lower rates
At all.
next meeting in the first week of November. And if you look, a day ago, this would have been like Friday morning before the jobs report came out. You would have seen 2.6% chance of no change. So people were already starting to lean towards it. But if you looked at a week ago, there was no chance that there was no change. And there was a 65% chance of a single rate reduction and then a 34% chance of a double rate reduction. So,
and now there's like a 0% chance of 50 basis points. Like,
which is what we were saying the entire time. I think
we're so smart.
Is what I was saying. Yeah, we are genius. Nobody
could
have seen this. Yeah. You jumped on the doubles?
Yeah, I was with you. No doubles. Yeah.
No double.
Yeah.
You were right about the last one with the double, which I still owe you something. Undetermined yet. So now nobody could have seen this coming. I mean, somebody could have. We didn't see there being a chance of no change. I mean, we figured the jobs report, even if it's good news or bad news, whatever you think good news or bad news is, like, they're still going to reduce rates. And they probably still are. But like now people are like, are we 100% certain? Or are we only 83% certain?
Yeah.
So that's a major change.
Yeah. With that, go ahead.
You still have here in December the chances of guys, and these are just anybody who's watching who's not used to these charts. This is just showing the percentage chance of these rates being the target rate of the Fed during this meeting. So the 18th of December. So right now, our current rate is over here. Can't see it. By December, people think there's a 15% chance of a single one happening sometime in November or December, an 80% chance of two happening, probably one in November, one in December, and then 4.1% of just like absolute, just not healthy, not mentally stable individuals think that there's going to be three. I mean, this probably just means that, like, I just don't think the trades have all the way cleared out. I think if you look at this tomorrow, this will be a zero.
Yeah, it could be. Or there could be, data changes, right? There could be a revision to the jobs numbers. There could be, different job numbers that come out next month. So there's like, that's why it's like never impossible. But I was so excited to share something. So I apologize for a couple interruptions, but like,
oh, please.
I have to interject here. What I want people to hear is what they should do as a buyer or a seller. Maybe I'll let you finish out the numbers. Go ahead and finish out the numbers. But this is
let's do it. I can bring both of us to the forefront. Really make this a conversation here. So if you take a look here, some people think there will only be one come January. Most people think there will be at least two. And then wait, is that the third one? Yeah, no, that's just the second one, the second reduction. And then most people think it'll be like three total, right? So you'll have one in November, one in December, one in January. And that is kind of what I honestly think, like, the Fed will probably, like, rather than reverse route, like, course based on sort of what they've already said they plan on doing, they would have to get like some pretty serious, great jobs numbers, great CPI readings, great PPI, consumer spend, like all those have to be great to convince them not to do that. So I do have to agree with that. So we should still see rates go down. We should still see the federal funds rate go down. But tell me what you think that means for your average buyer.
Well, I think it's still what we've kind of been thinking and saying, but we also warned against it. Listen, rates are going to go down in the long term. In the short term, nothing's guaranteed. And literally, like, that's what we said last week. And it proved itself out that, like, these rates aren't guaranteed to go lower. They're not even guaranteed to stay here. They could go higher. And then what happens? They go higher. And so there's a couple things I want people to know is that, will rates be lower a year from today on this date? Most certainly they will be. But will they be lower next month? We don't know. Will they go from 6.5 to 6.1 and then go back up to 6.3 at some time over the next 6 months? Could happen. What I really want people to understand as a buyer, and I work with a lot of investors, is with rates being kind of stubborn and staying higher for longer, and it being the winter months where less real estate is transacted, if you're a seller, be prepared to give concessions. Be prepared to lower your price. Be prepared that like this means if there was already, a shortage of demand, if there was already a home that you put on the market and it sat for 74 days, this is good news for buyers. This is going to create in the next few months. I think Q4 is going to be a great buyer's market. And in the short term, paying a higher interest rate, but getting a better deal on the house is something that I've always championed for buyers. People that got really good deals in Q4 of 22 when nobody wanted to buy and rates were 8%, they refinanced it last week, hopefully to 6.125, right?
Hopefully they did.
And so I think that's what people should understand is that these rates affect demand and demand affects price and it affects, how the market functions. It's not the same in every single market across the US, but for most markets, what you're going to see is like, as things start to cool in the winter months, rates coming down was adding a little bit of heat to the market. And now with rates popping back up, it's like, all right, it's going to be cold. There's going to be stuff that sits. As an investor or as someone who's buying a primary residence, you're going to be able to go out there and say, no, thanks. I don't want to pay $690. How about $660 and $10,000 in seller credit? And they might say no, but then when they're on the market for another month, you come back around and go, remember that $660 with $10K? What do you think now? And sellers are going to play ball. So as a buyer, as much as it sounds contrarian, like you should be excited when rates pop up. It puts you in a better position, honestly.
Yeah. It's the people. It's it's like Warren Buffett said. I mean, I think overall this is worse for all buyers, right? Like rates going up is just worse for like the grand all buyers basket, right? But like that means as an individual buyer, that you have a little bit more room to maneuver. If you're committed to like buying a house, like you actually could benefit because it's bad for all buyers by like snaking some great deals. Like Warren Buffett said, when people are greedy, be fearful, and when people are fearful, be greedy. Is that right?
You nailed it, man. And you're exactly right too. Like people are going to be backing off and people are going to be press and pause. People aren't going to be in the market to buy a house.
You gotta strike all those people. Yeah. While they're licking their wounds, you gotta be out there hunting.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like I've got a fourplex for sale that I'm going to sell and it's going to go into another investment. I know Sean is a seller. Like this means that rates are a little bit higher. I'm going to have to lower my price, increase my concessions. Like someone's going to come at me with a number and say, take it or leave it. And, I'm in a great position where I don't need to sell it, but anyone who's got something for sale that's already closed on something across the country or is in a more, need to sell type of situation, some great deals are going to be had this Q4. I'm sure of it.
Where's your fourplex?
Marysville. It's about an hour from Sacramento. It's a lovely little town, nice little hospital. It's got an Air Force base. And Sean, we could make something happen today at $475. It's about $39.70 in total rents between the 4 units. 4 lovely little 1-1.
Pretty close to the 1% rule there.
Which you can't get anywhere, let alone California. Don't you want to?
So why are you selling it then?
There's a little thing called like portfolio management, or I got so much equity in this one place that I'm going to take it. And it's like, it's maneuvering the portfolio, it might take this equity, move it over into a couple duplexes in a different neighborhood. So
there you go. Yeah. Diversification. Right. That's great. Right. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Not liquidating all real estate. We still got plenty of others, and I still love me some California real estate. But this one is the one that was. It's actually been good to me. It's yielded great returns. So that's the thing. I don't have to sell it. If I don't get offers that are in the realm, we'll just hold on to that bad boy and let it spit off $1,100 or $1,200 a month in income. Watch the debt go down and watch it appreciate 6.9% a year. It's not the worst thing in the world to hold it, but
yeah, it sounds great. I think it's a great thing to talk about. We talk so much about home buyers like in primary residence, most homes purchased are for people to live in. But you come across your fair share of investors. People, especially like once people own their first house, and we're not even talking about like you don't have to be some like crazy, right? Like you don't have to be Warren Buffett to invest in properties. Like you can just if you can find sometimes just 10, 15, 20% to put down to purchase a home that is cash flowing in a good market that is going to appreciate those 6.9% per year and provide some, tax uh, advantages and like, allows you to build your portfolio. Like I would say Q4, like you just said, is an even better time for that group of people than it is for your tip. Now, as long as the deal is good enough to be supported by these higher interest rates. But I think what you'll see is like there was a heyday of investment property prices, and it was probably 2 years ago. And since then, you know, investors have had to right. Like I feel like the typical investment property has not gone up in value quite as much as it had. Like had been crazy going up, just because like you see rents aren't like as increasing as quickly as they were, but there's still tons of good deals out there. Maybe more good deals out there than there were a few years ago, especially now that a lot of buyers will be scared out of the market, waiting on rates to go down.
Yeah,
Investors are so much more speculative than prime. Like if you have to buy a house to live in, it's like, well, I don't know. We're having a second kid. Like I got to buy a house. I don't care what the rates are. But you'll find investors are so speculative. They're like, well, rates are 8. I got to wait for them to go down to 7. And they pull themselves out of the market. And you might be able to get yourself a better deal.
right. Yeah. It's hunting season, I'll say for investors. I had somebody who just closed on an investment property not too long ago. I think we closed 2 weeks ago, and he called me. He's like, can we check and make sure that I can qualify for another one? Because I think that there's going to be opportunity in the next 3 months. I agree wholeheartedly that there's going to be deals to be had. And so that's the funny part about real estate is people always like this market, that market, good time to buy, bad time to buy. The investors I know who buy real estate every single year. Maybe they bought more in 2020 when rates were lower. Maybe,
Sure.
They only buy one this year. And some of those years they bought 3-piece real estate, but they're buying deals in all markets because whether the rate is 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, you just plug that in and it determines the number you can pay. And you tell somebody for that duplex, for it to make sense from an investment standpoint at today's interest rates, I can't pay you more than 480. So if they've got it listed at 525, good for you. 480 is what I can pay. Then you go find something else.
Well, yeah, and all investors are playing with the same rates and money for the most part. So it's like the person selling has got to realize like you're not going to wait and find somebody like that's going to come along and be like, well, no, I want this as a bad deal. I want this to not cash flow. I want like I want this to lose me money. It's like there's a price that for pretty much all investors, like there's a cap. And I think that's one of the things that like sellers will have to deal with. And that cap's gonna go down as rates go up and fewer people are in the market as they speculate. Wait. So if you were you bought a lot of houses, bring yourself back to buying your first investment property. If somebody wanted to dip their toe in Q4 of 2024, what would your advice be for like finding a deal? Should you go duplex, quadplex? Should you just buy like primary residence? Like, what should you do? Property management? You got 5 minutes to tell us all the secrets.
There's a lot of good questions. I'll address some of those, but the first tip I'm going to give, I think, is probably how most people I know fall into their first investment, which is the same for me. Bought a primary residence, lived in it, said, hey, for whatever reason, we want bigger house, a pool, like that doesn't serve you anymore. They buy a new primary residence and the one that they left becomes an investment. That's how I think a lot of people are going to do it when they're looking at buying something new, especially if they already own their primary and it's got 3% interest rate. Let's take a look and see if you qualify for 5% down on your new property. If you keep your last property and at 3%, that payment is $500, $600, $800 less than what you could rent it for, then as long as you can make the new payment work, like holding real estate for the long term is the play. People get rich owning real estate for a reason because it continues to appreciate. rents continue to go up. You continue to get debt pay down from your tenants. You continue to get tax benefits. Like there's so many good things. Like real estate pays you in 4 or 5 different ways. And so that's the first thing I would say is at least run those numbers. And that's like literally at 10 a.m. this morning, I have a client coming in. We want to buy this property. We own our current primary and we own one other rental. We want to talk through the numbers. Should we sell one of the rentals? Neither. What's it going to look like if we put 20% down on the new property and keep those? And just running through that exercise. That's what a lot of people honestly need to do more than anything is like run some numbers. And then if that doesn't work, I'm a big fan of the 2 to 4 unit stuff because from a numbers perspective, the numbers are better investment wise. And like people always need a roof over their head. Maybe in the market you live in, a single family house costs $400 and a duplex costs $450. If the house rents for $2,400, each side of the duplex probably rents for $1,800 to $2,000. So like numbers wise, it's always going to be better. It's a little bit different of an asset class, but for the most part, it functions the same. There's going to be plenty of need for 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1/2 of a duplex rental. And so I like those 2 units, and then 3 to 4, it kind of functions like a mini apartment and people are on top of each other and in close proximity. So there's a little bit more with what you deal with tenants, maybe with each other, but on anything like that, I've got single families that me and my wife manage personally. And then I've got the 4plexes where I pay 8% to not have that headache. Right. And so
yeah, that sounds wise.
Dealing with tenant issues and whatnot. And so they're different asset classes, right? Single family that's renting for $25.50 a month. It's a Venmo on the first of the month, every month. And hey, dude, like the sink in the master is broken. Can you send your handyman? Cool. He'll be there. Lawrence is coming today at 9. He's replacing a sink in a single family, but like that's all of it. I don't have any more to deal with. I'm certainly not dealing with, the son of somebody in the 4plex coming to beat up one of the other tenants. That's Jay's problem.
Yeah. That 8% goes a long way.
It sure does. Yeah. Cause I'm not dealing with any fights.
I love it. Yeah. I agree with you about, the way to build generational wealth. The easiest way to do it is not by getting some high powered job that pays, multi high 6 figures or low 7 figures. I mean, that's an easy way to do it. If you could, you could do it. If anybody's anyway,
hiring,
but yeah, I love my job. If anybody wants to pay me like rookie baseball player money, anyway. But yeah, it's like if you're going to move every 5 years and by the end of year 30, you have 5 investment properties that all have primary residence interest rates. Actually, 2 of them are paid off. 3 of them have primary residence interest rates and a low balance compared to like the ever increasing rents. It's like that is how you have a $4 million rental portfolio paying, probably close to 5 figures a month in rents, in like maybe even in cash flow by the end of 30 years. So I would say like get started early and don't sell your house to buy another one. Do whatever you can. Just put 3% down.
Accumulate in real estate. I want to get to James's question real quick before we pop off, because this is a great question, James. Asking if I want to get into bigger multi 10 to 20 unit. 10 to 20 unit, quite honestly, I've paid attention to it. I've looked at it. I've underwritten some of these deals. It's a really cool place to play because it's not big enough for big institutional buyers to care, right? And it's bigger than your average Joe Schmo who's, understands like residential financing up to 4 units, because it is commercial financing above 5 units. And so the answer, James, is yes. What I believe based on what I see is that a lot of these deals of this size that were bought in 20 and 21 all over the country, honestly, were bought at crazy cap rates that commercial loans are usually fixed for the first 5 years. In 25 and 26, there's going to be so much distressed commercial. There's already some of it. And so I'm looking out for some of that, because what I've heard is a lot of this stuff, when that 5-year mark comes due and they say, listen, based on today's rate, this 10 unit apartment's only worth 1.5 and you bought it for 2.2 and you owe 1.6 on it. You've got to hand us the keys or bring 500 grand into the deal to lower your, debt down to 1.2, whatever the case may be. Like there's going to be some distress in this specific asset class. And so, yeah, I'm looking for it and I'm happy to pick it up if I can find a good deal on it. Cause really I got a lot of friends that own this stuff. It's like that fourplex headache type stuff where people are in close quarters, kind of amplified. 10 to 20 unit apartment is ideally got somebody on site managing all the problems, collecting all the rents, and then just sending me a check. And so that's got to be baked into the deal as you underwrite the numbers for it. But yeah, if I find a deal, I'd love to get myself into a 10 or 20. I've got so much equity in those 2 fourplexes I own.
Okay, no need to brag. All right. Okay. Next question.
Next question.
James, that was a great question. Matt, on our way out, tell us, do you offer commercial financing for others that want to buy, 5+ unit apartments?
I would say reach out to me. We've got like pretty much anything that you can ever imagine. And I've got some of our lenders that offer 5 to 24 unit financing. The good part about going to greatmortgagebroker.com or reaching out to me is I'm going to give you the best advice. Sometimes home equity line of credit makes sense with me. Sometimes I can help refer you to a bank. Sometimes on the commercial side, we've got a product that works. Sometimes I just tell you for your own good that, you got to talk to my buddy Manny, who's at a commercial bank here in Sacramento. But whatever the case, we should be your first call when it comes to anything mortgage and finance related. And by we, I mean greatmortgagebroker.com. Matt the Mortgage Guy, moi.
Or your favorite UMortgage loan officer.
Yeah.
Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic week. Hey, great news in the economy front, not such great news on the rate front, but it all evens out at the end. We'll continue to monitor it and keep you guys up to date. Big inflation report coming on.
This is what it looks like. His brain is loading right now.
Thursday.
Brain loading.
It's coming on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Just monitor the front page. It should be interesting. We'll discuss it in detail next Monday. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listeners and watchers.